Okay. Barb Mendoza, Fitness by Design. Take it away.
Thank you, Cam. It's great to be here. And I'm happy all of you joined us virtually. Yes, learning Zoom is a new skill, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And a lot of us have had to switch to that in the last couple of months. So grateful for the technology to be able to bring us together as a sense of community and support for one another, and still getting chances to engage and learn. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be an affiliate with Seniors on the Move. And I'm also pleased to have Erica Abel-Holland, one of my educational affiliates at the studio, with us to do the presentation for the Lunch and Learn. So I want to just spend a couple minutes just sharing some information with you about my studio. And so I put my mission statement up here because that's really every day what we focus on. My team and I strive to motivate, educate, and inspire our clients to go out of their comfort zone and be their best and attain optimum health. And there's, of course, many, many ways to do that. So I just want to share with you kind of the three pillars that are the main focus for my business, Fitness by Design. And the first today is very apropos that education is what we're focusing on. So this Lunch and Learn is a good example of an educational event. And normally, of course, I would host these in person at my studio every quarter. Often we have them on a Tuesday night. And we spend about an hour. I bring in an expert on a specific health topic, and we spend some time listening and learning and asking questions. These events are open to Fitness by Design clients. They're also open to the public. And it's a nice way to expand knowledge and learn about any topic of health that maybe you're not familiar with. So it's one way that we fulfill our mission statement. Our second pillar is our largest pillar, largest part of the business at the studio. And we've been doing this for 30 years. So 1990 was our start. And it's amazing when I say 30 years. I cannot believe it's 2020. And I feel like I just got out of college and started, and here it is 30 years later. So fitness is our main focus. So we have lots of different aspects to our fitness, and some people prefer private. So we do private personal training or private Pilates. See people who want that one-on-one setting. Others like a small group. So we offer yoga, strength training, bar classes, and those are 3 to 10 clients. So at my studio, it's pretty small, so you're never in a large group. So group is a nice way to have that connection and be with other people, but not get lost in the crowd. And I always tell my clients when they're coming on board that you can't hide in the back. So there's no, oh, I hope she doesn't see me. So we're always going to see you because we're in a very small setting. I also have 2 massage therapists right at the studio, and you can book massages with them directly. So right now we are doing everything virtual. It was a very quick switch from our normal business model of seeing people in person to switching virtual on March 17th. So, but we've done it successfully, and all of our classes are being held on their regular schedule. And our private sessions, where I just got done training a client right before this meeting, one-on-one from my living room. She was in her living room, very effective. And so until we can open again, all of our classes and privates are virtual. And I have good news. Last night, I found out about 10 o'clock when I learned of the governor's proclamation that we can open tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. for privates only. So very, very exciting day here. I didn't know I was going to be saying this because May 16th was our estimated date for fitness centers to open in any capacity. So thrilled that tomorrow's the day we can start doing privates, of course, with all the guidelines in place. And I'm very blessed that my studio is set up into the format is private rooms. So we're never in a big group. We'll keep our classes online, but each studio has its own entrance. And so we can very safely train clients from more than 6 feet apart. And that was great news last night. So exciting day, prepping and getting open tomorrow. And then the third pillar is BEAMER. BEAMER is an acronym. It stands for Bioelectromagnetic Energy Regulation. And we do BEAMER sessions at the studio, in home, of course, depending on the setting. But if you think blood flow, if you don't remember anything else about what BEAMER does, just think blood flow. So it enhances circulation. And when you have better blood flow, your body's going to function better. That's in a nutshell what Beamer does. So often your discomforts are reduced, you have more energy. There's lots of benefits to having better circulation. And if you look at the little graphic there, I included that because 74% of our circulatory system are the microvessels. So we don't talk about capillaries very often because we're always talking about arteries and veins. And that's because you hear of someone having bypass, or someone had a stent put in, or they found out they had a vessel that was 90% clogged. So we talk about those, but we don't focus on the microvessels. And so that's where Beamer enhances your circulation, is at that capillary level. And as we age, our microcirculation diminishes just naturally with the aging process. So it's where a lot of our health issues begin. So Beamer helps enhance it at that capillary level. So that's the 3 areas that we focus on. So for Seniors on the Move members, we have several perks. So you all get a complimentary class, and that could be yoga, bar, strength training. And we are adding new clients right now. In the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, we've had five new clients join our studio. Who'd have thought in a time when my physical doors aren't even open that we're still helping more people. And I have someone from Houston, Texas joining my class twice a week. We have Louisiana, we have New York, we have Chicago, we have Minnesota. So the nice thing about virtual is you can do it from anywhere. So everyone gets a free class, whether it's virtual or in person when we open again for groups. You also get 2 Beamer sessions, and those can be done in the studio, those can be done at home, and then a free consultation. And right now, until again last night, I found out the news, but doing those through Zoom, or they could be in person, across the room from each other when we're comfortable with that. But sometimes you don't know where to start. So a consultation for some clients is, help me. I don't know what you offer that can help me. I don't have a starting point. I don't have a roadmap. Or it might be, I'm doing some things on my own, or I go to my health club, or I walk outside, or I do something, but I don't think it's enough, and I need help complementing what I'm already doing. So I'll help people with that. So wherever you are in your journey, we can help you with a free consultation to give you some guidance and learn how you can reach your goals and what role we can play in that. And then I just want to hand off now. So thanks for your time. And I'm very excited to have Erica here. So she's an education affiliate with my studio. She's also very knowledgeable in Beamer. And so her presentation is titled Rethink Your Drink. So Erica, I'm going to let you take it away as soon as Kim unmutes you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Barb. And it's a real pleasure to be here with everybody today. Just a quick, can you flag me? Let me know you can hear me all right? Okay, great. Well, yes, I'm Erica Abel Holland. I run a business, The Detox Artist. I just really love water. And I've even had to explain like the true meaning behind the Alcoholics Anonymous billboard to my daughter one time, because she had asked the question, do you know somebody with a drinking problem? And so she was accusing me of having a drinking problem because I always tell everyone to drink water. So I was really able to assure her that it's actually a little bit different. It turned out to be a pretty proud parenting moment, but that's kind of my reputation. I tell everybody to hydrate. And so this presentation was titled Rethink Your Drink because there are many natural and interesting ways to stay well in our health and in our home with simply water. And I really love sharing those lesser known tips. You will be able to use the chat box during the presentation. I will pause a couple of times and Barb will moderate that. So if you have questions and you don't want to forget, jot it down or put it in the chat and we'll come back to those. Quick disclaimer, the statements contained in the presentation have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant to substitute for medical care or prescribed treatment for any specific health condition. Any products mentioned are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. Let's start off with, now would be a good time to start our experiment. So if you have that jar of warm water and your sock, if you haven't already, soak that sock deep into the jar. Make sure that lid's on real tight and give it a really good shake. And then we will come back to the experiment towards the end. We're just wanting that sock to get nice and wet, and we'll find out more about what that's all about in just a short while. Okay, let's get started. So everything is made of atoms, and an atom is the smallest particle in an element like oxygen and hydrogen, and atoms join together and that forms molecules. And a water molecule has 3 atoms, 2 hydrogen and 2 oxygen atoms, and that's why water's often referred to as H2O. And a single drop of water contains billions of water molecules. It's essential to our life. Without water, we die. And our bodies are actually functioning on 2 primary things. There's energy, and we're also made mostly of water. So it's easy to understand that water carries energy, and good water energy makes us feel strong and happy, and bad water energy makes us feel weak. So some things to think about as we begin would be, have we ever wondered why kids love to play in the water, splash around in the bathtub? Why do we think of a bath as a relaxing experience? Why does the ocean have such a powerful effect on us when we're standing there on the beach? This water energy can be all of these things: relaxing, purifying, invigorating, soothing, create fear, all at the same time, and it can make us feel good. And I just believe that there's so much more for us to learn about water. So being aware of the quality of the water energy that's around us and that's within us is a step to enjoying health and living a balanced and happy life, potentially. Yet, how do we actually consume the water? So 8 glasses a day perhaps isn't the only way. There's another and maybe a better kind of water. So some evidence is suggesting that the malleable structure of the water, which is those billions of water molecules that make up that single drop, is more significant than we realize just based on the chemistry of it. So there's a kind of water that we find in nature. It's the water in the streams, in springs, in fruits and vegetables, and in our cells and within our cells at a cellular level. It's nature's water, and it's been identified having a water structure of H3O2. So the recent study from the University of Washington found that not H2O, but actually H3O2 best hydrates us. Now you need to find a balance there. It doesn't mean get all your water from food, but at this phase, water is potential energy, just like a battery of water. And they found that H3O2 is 10% denser and has more oxygen than regular tap or bottled water. So perhaps, one of the more surprising differences is that while tap or bottled water has little to no charge, like electrical charge, structured water has an electrical charge, this natural water. So because of that energy in the water, you can drink less or eat less rather, and be better hydrated. So what are some of these foods that we can eat? Who doesn't love eating all of these delicious fruits? These are some of the top fruits with concentrations of water. You can see from star fruit at 91% water, watermelon right up there. You know, grapes would be the lowest at 81.5. There's a tremendous density of water in fruits, and same with vegetables. You've got everything from cucumbers, lots of delicious fruits and vegetables. But obviously, because it has all of these functions in the human body, water is one of the most important nutrients, and it's really essential in every life stage. However, when we're aging, our body's mechanisms to balance the water get disturbed, and so it increases our risk for dehydration, and then dehydration is one of the more common fluid disorders among older people. So it's super important to hydrate right away each morning. We can exhale through respiration about half a gallon of water overnight. And when you have enough fluid, which is how you want to start your day, you're going to be able to promote mental clarity right off the bat. Keep our kidneys working, which are filtering a lot of toxins, especially overnight. When your body's cleaning up, it's going to help prevent constipation, decreasing the likelihood of UTIs, and of course, preventing dehydration. Even driving dehydrated could be similar to driving under the influence. And I mean, that's right. A study that I read about in the UK tested drivers who were dehydrated and found that on average, they were making twice as many errors as those who were hydrated. So this is about the same number of errors that drivers made who consumed the legal limit of alcohol. Dehydration is then linked with a drop in concentration and short-term memory and an increase in anxiety and irritability. So conversely, hydration can improve attention and improve memory. Being hydrated when we're exercising and in hot environments, that enables us to sweat, which is keeping us from overheating. There's a simple equation. If you lose 2 pounds of weight through sweat, so if you step on the scale before you exercise and then afterwards you find you're 2 pounds lighter, that equals about 32 ounces of fluid water. So you can eat or drink accordingly to offset that loss. Just wanted to check real quick, everything okay on chat, and is my sound all right? Great, thanks, Barb. Have you ever heard someone say about working out, like, it makes me as sore as a boil? I don't know, that might just be something that my husband's grandfather said. I had never heard it, but dehydration can actually make your recovery period after working out even feel worse. So drinking water is beneficial in speeding up that recovery time and changing the feelings of soreness. It removes toxins from the body. It helps remove the metabolic waste. It's carrying oxygen to the muscle tissue. And so it's keeping your muscles in proper working order. So yeah, here's a good case for building muscle. The more muscular a body is, the more water it contains, which is why people with muscular physiques tend to weigh more than non-muscular persons of a similar size. So conversely, the more fat in a body, then the less water the body contains, because body fat has little water. You can see just through this diagram how much of our bodies are made of water. 85% is water composition in the brain, and our blood is 80%, and muscles alone are made of 70% water. Something that really opened my eye during the research is that chronic dehydration is a common cause of kidney stones. Um, so sometimes these can be treated with simply increasing water intake. Sometimes that's all it takes. Patients, though, with kidney stones who drank more water showed a lower incidence of recurrence in some of the studies that I was reading, and especially soft water that would not have the heavy minerals in it. The soft water means that the calcium and magnesium have been removed. Because those can also be a cause of stones. So drinking a lot of softened water. Also, when you stay hydrated, your kidneys can properly filter about 50 gallons of blood every day. And so through that, it's removing about a half a gallon of waste through the bladder. So if we're looking at water composition of a body, we're actually born wet. Then begins this drying process. So the amount of water a body contains varies as we age, with the body of a newborn composed of about 90% water, and the body of an elderly person being composed of as little as 50% water. And on average, the body of an adult contains about 70. So it decreases as we age. And so the smarter we become with our modes of hydration, then the more youthful we can remain, right? Most of the water in the human body is contained within our cells. So the human body is comprised of a mind-boggling 32 trillion cells that must have water to live and stay healthy. And the total amount of water in our body is found in three main locations. It's within our cells, that's the intercellular water. It's within the space between the cells, and it's in our blood, where we find the remaining third of the water. And of course, in the blood is where oxygen is transported. It's where waste is removed. So staying hydrated and having good free-flowing blood is so very, very important for our health and well-being. Thought I'd just pause here. If there are any questions, I think, Kim, we need to, unmute Barb.
Okay. Yeah, there's been two questions so far. First of all, someone was asking about, Susan wanted to know about getting a list of the fruits and vegetables. And so this is being recorded. So the recorded link, Susan, you'll be able to go back and refer to those slides to get that information again. And then Nancy had a question about hydrating in the morning with coffee or tea, if you could comment on that.
Yeah, and I'll add with the slides. Of course, the presentation will be available, but something like that, I could perhaps just summarize to Kim at the end, and then we can send that, some of those keynotes, like the fruits and vegetable list, top list, out to everybody. Yeah, and so in hydrating in the morning with coffee and tea, some things to think about is the amount of caffeine that is contained in the beverage that we start with, or the amount of sugar, because although, let's say, orange juice is very hydrating, it also has a very high sugar, so that could spike our glucose first thing in the morning. And with coffee and tea, you're looking at potentially starting with a diuretic. So caffeine, coffee in particular, can aid in the flushing of the water from your system, which it's actually not that bad if you're already well hydrated. So my opinion would be, start first with just a nice fresh glass of room temperature water, or an herbal tea, or a tea with lemon, and then have your juice or your coffee afterwards. In fact, when you drink more water and when we are properly hydrated, then our bodies are you actually push more water out. So it doesn't, just because you drink more doesn't mean you're going to get more bloated. Actually, when you're more hydrated, the better, you'll find swelling can decrease. Some of those symptoms that you think are water retention sometimes have to do with lack of water. So your body kind of counteracts it, saying, oh, I need more water, so I'm going to hold it in. I hope that answers your question about the coffee and tea in the morning.
And that is all the questions so far. I'll keep monitoring it.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah, and so this will be a good time. I do have, changing directions a little bit, a really fascinating area that I'm studying lately further explains the nature's water structure. And it's research from Dr. Masaru Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist who has revolutionized the idea that our thoughts can impact water and therefore can impact all living things. So what this means is he studied for a very long time the evidence of how the molecular structure of water, like those billions of molecules that are in a single drop of water, he studied how the molecular structure of the water transforms when it's exposed to human words, to thoughts, to sound, to intentions. And so I have a 5-minute video that I would like to share. And then I will come back on, and then just give me a quick second to pull that up for you.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo, we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen. This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's Air for the G string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music upon the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "love" and "appreciation." This photo shows the effects of the words, "You make me sick, I'll kill you." Here we can compare the effects of "thank you" with "you make me sick, I'll kill you." Very, very different geometric forms being occurred through the intention. Now this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo we can compare toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water. It's really quite impressive. These photographs that we've just seen show proof that not only does sound have the ability of affecting and changing physical structure, but that with regard to the molecular structure of water, that our intent with our sound is extremely important. This may have great implications for the future of both personal and planetary harmony and healing.
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me all right? All right. So that's a lot to take in. I realize, I've been reading about this for a while, and if you haven't heard of it before, I realize, knowing how it affected me, it can be quite profound and also bring out the major skeptic. So, what I encourage you is to consider that because we are water, and knowing that what we know, that water can be considered a living thing and that it influences us and that we can also influence it. So if you'd like to learn more about that particular research, Dr. Emoto wrote a New York Times bestseller called The Hidden Messages in Water. And that will help explain more about this consciousness, the energy and tension and gratitude that impacts us in our existence through water. And you can find it at a lot of libraries. And also, I think it was $10 on Amazon. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, going a little bit more deeply into where does all this water come from? And one theory is that the water we use today is the same water that's always been on Earth, right? You've heard that, the cup of tea that you're drinking now is you know, the water that dinosaurs peed millions of years ago. And that is it's possible theory that is more commonly accepted. And there's another theory that water was brought to Earth by comets of ice and water, and that it's actually continuing to do that yet today. And so I do have just a final 60-second brief video to present to you to better explain that hydrologic cycle.
Water from lakes, rivers, trees, and plants is evaporated by the sun and becomes vapor in the atmosphere. This vapor rises until it's cooled and forms clouds. Once the cloud is saturated, it releases moisture as precipitation. Upon reaching the earth, the moisture forms two main sources of water used by humans: groundwater and surface water. This water continues its journey and the cycle repeats again. Today, manufacturing, agriculture, and a growing population have introduced an enormous amount of potentially hazardous materials into our environment, resulting in an overly burdened hydrologic cycle that can't clean our water the way it once did.
The water we interact with today is contaminated, and even the pure, deep aquifers and springs are sourced with water that took 50 years to filter through the earth, which is still within that time of heightened industrialization. All of these contaminants just really bother me. And so I ask, do you know what's in your water? Many people are drinking water straight from our tap, straight from the faucet. But did you know that there are still contaminants in our tap water, and specifically in central Iowa? So I frequently check the local waterworks website and the Environmental Working Group website, which runs, in particular, the Environmental Working Group site runs water tests throughout Greater Des Moines and throughout the United States. So I looked at that recently, and there are approximately 17 contaminants within our Des Moines Waterworks water supply, which, while they don't meet like health guidelines, health standards set by those in the environmental non-government agencies standards, they are still there, and they are federally legal, and they're present in the water. 7 of those are contaminants that are known to increase our risk of cancer. And I find the Environmental Working Group site to be a really unique tool. It's very user-friendly for the public. All you have to do is punch in your zip code, and it'll bring up the results of your water quality tests completed in that area. Or you can contact Barb or myself, and we can schedule a water test for you. Even if, I guess, if you have, so with that's more of will help you with public water, so presuming that you're getting your tap through municipal water. But if you have a well, you would probably want to get that tested about every couple of years. And there's a different site called the Iowa Well Forecasting System, which is a web platform, and you can access information on well geology and well water quality information in Iowa. Again, this would be something that I can send to Kim, and she can share with everybody. It is not as savvy as the Environmental Working Group one, but it's very localized and a useful tool. So there are over 80,000 chemicals used in the United States, yet the Environmental Protection Agency has only banned roughly a dozen of them from our tap water. as you learned through that hydrologic cycle video, anything that goes into the air has the potential to make its way into our water. And considering the filth that flows down the Des Moines and the Raccoon rivers, the Des Moines Waterworks, they do a fantastic job of cleaning our water. And they actually sell their water to many of the communities around the metro, including a large part of West Des Moines. West Des Moines has a very deep aquifer on the Jordan vein, but only about 50% of West Des Moines gets their water from that. The other 50% gets it directly, they buy it from the surface water from Des Moines Waterworks, or they have a combination, kind of a slush of the two. Grimes has a very deep well, and I guess the difference to know here is that if you have well water or a deep aquifer, you're getting groundwater, you are going to have a harder mineralization, but potentially fewer contaminants. You'll still have contaminants, but fewer, because the earth has an opportunity to filter a lot of that out. So through the Des Moines Waterworks, they assure us that our water is safe, and then they do, but they do also use a disclaimer on their website about immunocompromised persons or elderly persons may want to discuss their drinking water concerns with their healthcare provider. Why do they do that? There are many contaminants present in the Des Moines, greater Des Moines water supply. And these range from flame retardants to herbicides, pesticides, radiological contaminants from coal and oil. There's pharmaceuticals and fungicides that are used in the hog and beef industry, as well as simply humans, who are taking pharmaceuticals. And the list goes on and on. But did you know that you can see chloroform there on the second line? And did you know that chloroform is a byproduct gas of chlorine that's been added to our drinking water to rid bacteria? And this was one of the first inhaled anesthetics to be used during surgery around the time of the Civil War. And it was used for a long while through the 20th century, but it's not used any longer today because it's known just to be too dangerous. So theoretically, chloroform, when it's added to our water, as it's leaving our treatment plants, it is supposed to dissipate before it reaches and turns on our tap. But I very regularly test water with very high concentrations of chlorine. Remember the scare in 2012 when trihalomethanes were elevated? I remember because I was pregnant with my second daughter at that time. Trihalomethanes are the result of a reaction between the chlorine used for disinfecting the tap and organic matter in the water. Organic matter can be everything from leaves and soil to feces, right? And so at elevated levels, the trihalomethanes are associated with negative health effects like cancer and adverse reproductive outcomes. The list really just goes on and on. There's more contaminants detected. I would point out atrazine and glyphosate are two that I am concerned about. They're widely used herbicides in Iowa to kill broadleaf. So, like Roundup, for example, is a glyphosate. The atrazine in particular has been proven in labs to change male frogs into female frogs where they're actually laying eggs. And so we use those in our yard, but also, we're a very large agriculture, state. And so those are being laid on an industrial level on fields, and then that leaks into into our watersheds, which makes it eventually into our drinking water. So as you can see, all of these toxins affect the nervous system and our liver and our digestive system and have the potential to form tumors. And they also just simply make the water taste bad. It's really difficult for me to prioritize the damage and the health threat among all of these contaminants because they are all just detrimental to our health. And so when combined together, day after day, that toxic burden to our bodies can cause some serious damage. So when I'm in people's homes and testing water, I always look for nitrates. The research is profound. According to the Iowa Environmental Council, Iowa nitrate levels are killing us. Some things are like baby blue syndrome, which in infants is a fatal condition. It affects all of us, but especially in newborns, the red blood cells become unable to bind with oxygen. There's also the increased risk of bladder, ovarian, and thyroid cancers, particularly in women. There's birth defects, and then it spawns blue-green algae blooms. Last June, the Des Moines Register reported a peer-reviewed research study that estimated in Iowa alone, there are 300 cancer cases per year directly related to nitrates in our drinking water. Des Moines Water Works has the first or second largest nitrate reduction facility in America. But bottled water, in my opinion, isn't the answer. Nearly 50% of bottled water is actually tap water. And it may surprise you to learn that nearly half of bottled water is not from the beautiful, pristine mountain streams or natural springs found on our labels, but rather from filtered municipal water. If you just turn on tap, we can save money. We can also help stem that flood of plastic bottles that are ending up in landfills. And by some estimates, that's about 100 million bottles per day worldwide, of which about 20% are recycled. So at an average cost of about $1.22 per gallon, we're spending theoretically 300 times more on bottled water than if we just drink tap. But one thing I recommend is making your own natural water and purifying it from your tap. So you use reverse osmosis purifiers. That reverse osmosis is different than like a Brita filter or a pure filter, which are carbon filters. Reverse osmosis will purify nitrates, heavy metals, hormones, pharmaceuticals, and everything from your drinking and your cooking water. In fact, that might be the only negative thing of a reverse osmosis is that it actually does remove literally everything, including minerals. And the other thing is using harmonizing, like electromagnetic frequency or crystals or prayer or music. Kind of going back to what you learned earlier in the presentation about how to find the structure your water to give it energy. Barb and I use Beamer. We wrap our water in the Beamer. It gives it, it uses electromagnetic frequency to structure it, and then we consume it that way. But there is more to water yet. What about the minerals in the water? So calcium and magnesium and iron, those are your main minerals that you're probably familiar with. And those are the ones that are naturally occurring in the earth, either through the filtration to the underground aquifers or through just simply tumbling along our river basin. The calcium and magnesium is gathered in the water. And calcium, however, good for bone structure, good if eaten through leafy greens and broccoli, for example, calcium in your pipes will ruin your home. Calcium through water is a plentiful source of consuming calcium, but not necessarily the most bioavailable way. So if we're looking at it from simply the protection of your home, you know, calcium will ruin it. It will ruin your water heater. It ruins dishwashers, washing machines, pipes, faucets, refrigerator, anything. You know, we've all seen the effects of lime scale. And we've all seen dishes that look like this. Those spots that are on the glasses after the cycle are due to the hardness in the water, which is the calcium and the magnesium, and that sticks to the dishes, or it sticks to the base in the shower, let's say, or the tub. And then what really is the problem is that soap sticks to calcium. I mean, it's like magnets. And so soap, this effect causes buildup, which causes soap scum. And then within soap scum is where you get bacteria growth, and that's how you get, you know, the mold, and then you find yourself needing to scrub and scrub and scrub and re-caulk your tiles. It also causes dry skin. So if you think about, you know, squeaky being clean, right? We've all heard that phrase. Actually, squeaky is not clean. Squeaky is the effect of hard water, calcium being stuck on the skin, and then soap sticking to that. And so squeaky clean is kind of is rather a misnomer. And that's in our hair, you know, it's in our skin, it's in anything that we wash, it's in our laundry. Even more, when it comes to cleaning, there's all those added chemicals in our cleaning products that are used to chemically soften the water. So, I mean, within these chemical cleaners, you have sulfates and acids, and the big companies like Procter & Gamble, Lever Brothers, Colgate Palmolive, you know, they know that their products now, which are mostly full of water and have a small amount of concentrate in it, those products won't be able to properly clean our clothes or our hair if they don't break down the hardness, the calcium in the water. And so they add the synthetic chemicals to it to chemically soften it. And then on top of that, just don't even get me started on fragrances in all of these commercial cleaners. Fragrances are the new secondhand smoke, but that is a whole rabbit hole that we'll go down maybe some other time. All of these chemicals, though, in our cleaners, they lead to headaches and itchy skin and hormone disruption, and they can weaken our immune system. And it's, in my opinion, all because of water quality. All those chemicals, they stick into the laundry. And this is why I love toxin-free soaps. And so, you know, I don't want a load of sulfates and acids and high fragrances in my bath towels, you know, in my hair and stuck on my clothes and on my skin. And most of us don't. But all of that will lurk in our laundry, so to speak. Really, here you can see what happens to non-toxic soap in our water. So the blue bottle is filled with 150 milliliters of mechanically softened water. So that's where we have, you know, water conditioning system has removed those hard minerals from the water, blue bottle. The red bottle is filled with mineralized hard water. And so what's happening here? The bubbles, see the bubbles and see the soup of dirty water. So you've got the blue bottle has clear water at the bottom and then the bubbles at the top. And the red bottle has everything all slushed together in one because the hard minerals are sucking or magnetically pulling that soap down into the basin. So it simply can't rinse, our clothes, and it can't rinse our skin, and nothing will be any cleaner than the quality of the water. Here is where we can come back to our experiment. So you can try this, something similar like this at home with a sock. So if you've got your bottle again, give that another really good shake. Make sure the lid is on nice and tight. And then observe what's going on in the water. What's it doing? Do you have gray water now, which would be the release of some prior soap, detergent? Are there bubbles? Maybe you have a combination of both. And then even take the lid off and smell it. Is there still lingering fragrance? And Barb's going to be monitoring the chat. And so in just a little bit, if you want to type some of your comments now to tell us what you're seeing there in your jar, then we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. I'm wrapping things up here for you really quick. So in summary, natural foods is a source of water. Just remember that. The conscious mind imprints water. And water holds energy, both positive and negative. Humans are primarily made of water and energy. Even our public water is contaminated. Bottled water is a marketing scam. And hard water is probably ruining your home and your investment. Some final water wisdom: exercise and use Beamer perhaps to move water and lymph and circulate oxygen throughout our blood, knowing that our blood is primarily made of water. Don't forget to rehydrate to build muscle mass. Think of food as water and get it from lots of diverse sources. Structure your water by putting energy into it. Again, Fitness by Design uses that medical device Beamer to charge the water. Soft water can be an insurance for your home. It won't damage water appliances, and it will have a soft, clean skin and clean clothes. Avoid chemicals at all costs, and they lurk everywhere. And finally, put positive intention into your water, and then think we literally are what we eat and what we drink. And thank you.
Thank you, Erica. There are a few questions in the chat, so I'm going to run down those so you can give your answers. So one question, let me go through here. Does sparkling water have the same value as regular water?
That's an area I'm continuing to look into. So the consideration with sparkling water, and maybe Perrier would be an exception to this. I need to find out a little bit more. But what causes it to be sparkling or is carbonated? Carbonated means it has carbon added to it. Carbon is the opposite of oxygen. And so when you're drinking carbonated water, it adds that gas, but it actually reduces, it adds to oxidized stress in the body, I guess would be a simplified way to explain it. It's kind of a rabbit hole to get into because I like it too. I like my LaCroix, and sometimes I drink Perrier too, but it is not a good source for for hydrating all day, every day.
Okay, thank you. Another question, are any flavored waters good to drink? Diana wanted to ask that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, any water that you're going to add natural, whole, strawberries, any kind of whole fruit, if you can flavor it that way, I'd say that would be preferred. But there are some sweetened types on the market. You know, personally, I'm not opposed to stevia. I just prefer to avoid sweeteners. So anything, if it has, you know, high fructose corn syrup, you know, absolutely at no cost, don't drink that. And this is where we just need to be like informed consumers to really understand, well, what is causing that flavor? Is it natural flavors? Which natural flavors can actually be fine. That, but then when you look at, well, what's sweetening it? The natural flavor is kind of the essence that's being added to the water, but something is making it like addicting and sweet, and not all sugar is created equal. So that's where I would, you know, maybe turn your attention to on the label is where's that source of sweetener? And it's not because sweetened stuff just makes you, you know, fat or something. It's that there's a lot of synthetic and negative chemicals that are added to some sweeteners that you would really want to avoid, that a lot of the popular flavored waters use, and
Great.
food coloring.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next question. How much, this was something you said, but they just wanted another reference to it. How much water is respirated overnight?
Yeah, that was about what was it? 5 gallons.
Okay, I thought that's what you said. Okay.
Yeah, 5 gallons. Good point. I can include that in the summary.
Okay. Let's see. Going down. Any idea where?
No, that can't be right. No, I think it's a half gallon. I'm going to fly back on that.
Okay.
Let's just take a quick look.
Okay.
Too many. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to look at my notes. Too many statistics to remember off the top of my head. Half a gallon.
Half a gallon. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then next question, any idea where Urbandale water comes from?
Yeah, Urbandale water is Des Moines Water Works water.
Okay. And do our refrigerator filters clean the water adequately?
So refrigerator water is going to have a carbon filter in it, and that you want to change about every 3 months, and depending on how many people are in your home. So a carbon filter is primarily a chlorine removing filter. So it will remove, and of course not all carbon filters are created equally. So it will definitely remove chlorine. So it'll improve the taste of your water and remove that chemical. Some of them will also remove, and I should not use the word remove, reduce, actually, some of the herbicides and pesticides, but it cannot, carbon filters cannot remove things that are at a smaller molecular size, like heavy metals, nitrates, pharmaceuticals, hormones, and such. The only thing that can do that is a semi-permeable mesh membrane that is used in a reverse osmosis filter.
Okay, thank you. And then last question was we just wondered if anyone did the experiment now. We know you can also do it on your own time, but just wondered if anybody did put their sock in the jar of water. And, oh, and there's one more. What about, and I'm not familiar with this, Seychelle, Seychelle?
Seychelle?
Seychelle? What about Seychelle water? So those are the last 2 questions, the experiment, and then what about Seychelle water?
I don't know about Seychelle water. I just know how to pronounce Seychelle.
Okay. You're one step ahead of me. I hadn't heard that.
Is it like Perrier?
Have to unmute Nancy Kim so she can.
All right, she's unmuted.
Okay.
Okay, it is actually a bottle that has a filter in it that's Seychelle, and you're supposed to be able to take water out of your rivers and all kinds of things in order, to drink it. Okay, are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with those types of products, because like for going hiking and such, or, you know, those are good resources. But I don't know particularly, and I'd be happy to look into it. Do you have one of those?
I do. Yes, I do.
What do you use it for?
Drinking, of
Like
course.
straight from your tap to help remove contaminants from your
Yeah,
tap water?
I have the bottle. Can you see it at all? And my back is my video back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, your video is back. Okay. Yeah,
here's
I
the
really
bottle.
am not familiar with that, and I'm
And
curious.
here's the little filter. Can you see that?
Yeah, is it mechanical, or is it meaning there's no like battery or anything in there?
No, no. And the
Okay.
filter changes, you know, I changed that. I mean, it's supposed to handle masses of, I can't remember the number of gallons it handles, but it's supposed to be something that, you know, if we lost our water source or whatever, that you could
Mhm.
drink it.
Mhm.
Worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'll look into that. There's
Mhm.
the biggest thing when you're shopping around for water filtration is to make sure you know what their performance data is. You know, is it third party lab certified? So you know, don't just trust what the company tells you it is. You know, like I represent Rainsoft of Des Moines, and so I chose that company because we have, you know, third party verified performance data. But you can get that for all legitimate filtration systems on the market. And so that's what I'll look up for you to see what's going on with Seychelles. Thanks for your question.
Okay. And Kim, can you unmute Susan Lee? So Susan's comment was just that her water was still clear. So back to the experiment.
Mm.
So
Okay, let me find her. All right, Susan,
Yes,
you're unmuted.
yes,
So Susan, I have a question. So do you presently have softened water at your home?
no.
And so,
I make my own laundry soap.
okay, yeah. I think it's if your water is still clear in your bottle, to me that'd be an indication that you are using the appropriate amount of soap for the type of water that you have. Do you use like soap nuts, or what is it that you use in your
It's,
DIY?
I use, it's a half a bar of Feld's Naphtha soap, a half, and you dissolve that, you grate it and dissolve it, and then it's a half a cup of borax and a half a cup of washing soda, and you end up with adding, by the time you're done, about 2 gallons of water.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that borax is acting as your softening agent. So, you know, instead of sulfates and acids, I mean, it's a very, as you know, you handle it carefully, I'm sure, whenever you make it.
Right.
But yeah, it sounds like you're just using a small, modest amount, which is not as common, I'd say, among American consumers who do laundry. So no, nothing to be alarmed with as far as I can tell. Just keep on keeping on with yours. It doesn't mean that the chemicals or, you know, your soap, laundry isn't still in there, but not at a high amount enough to see. So thanks for sharing that with us.
and that was the last question in the chat. So Kim, hand it back over to you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Erica and Barb. It was a great presentation. I, for one, am really glad that you have a drinking problem. I have never learned so much about water in my life. So we did have the last slide up there had the contact information for Erica and for Barb. If you have any further questions, I really encourage you to reach out to them.